another component of this is when you made the point earlier where you were saying that we have to learn to feel again.
Yeah.
You have to learn to feel again. Now, here's the thing as a clinician. Sometimes the reason people get into addiction, and I am sure you are well aware of this, is they are self-medicating for something that has never been diagnosed.
Absolutely.
They could have undiagnosed bipolar. They could have undiagnosed ADHD or generalized anxiety, even some forms of schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And if they go and say to themselves, well, you know what? I'm going to do what Jennifer did, and I'm going to do all this on my own, and I'm just going to tough it out. Chances are they're going to hit a brick wall and not know, how do I handle this?
Yeah.
You know, and that's where good counseling comes in handy.
Absolutely.
Because you can go to, like, in my case, but you can go to Common Bond, you can go to T.A.S.C, you can go to Health Recovery Services, you can go to Hopewell Health. I'm sure there's probably some that I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And you can get that critical diagnosis.
Yeah. Counseling is hugely important post-addiction because there are so many things and issues that addicts don't deal with, and there's a lot of reasons why people become addicts. Trauma, like, you know, and then like you said, like undiagnosed,
PTSD.
Undiagnosed disorders, all kinds of reasons that people become addicted to drugs and alcohol. And if you don't get that counseling, you're never going to deal with what drove you to addiction in the first place, and chances of relapse are very high.
Oh yeah.
Very, very high.
Oh, yeah.
Because you never deal with what's wrong. I did counseling in the beginning of my recovery. I did counseling for about the first year of my recovery. So I did go, my kids did counseling as well. So
there you go.
I mean, it's definitely important.
Oh yeah.
And don't let anybody tell you that you can't be medicated for your disorders because you're in recovery. Anything that you're diagnosed with that requires medication to help with your brain chemistry, because a lot of these things are chemical imbalances.
Absolutely.
And you need medication to deal with the chemical imbalance. Don't let anybody anywhere tell you that that's not okay because you're in recovery.
Right.
If your counselor or your doctor recommends medication, please take it. Just make sure that you are, when you're in counseling, make sure that your counselor is aware of your addiction. Make sure that they're aware that you're in recovery. And if possible, they're also working with your doctors.
Absolutely.
So that you can be put on a medication that is appropriate for you.
Right. Often when I have clients that come in that are in recovery, and I'm sitting here and, you know, they may think that we're just having a nice little friendly chat. But as I'm chatting with them, I am assessing things. Yeah. I might be, you know, how are they sleeping? How are they eating right? How are they handling day-to-day things?
Right.
Stressors. Do they have side effects to medications where that shows us they need to be tweaked a little bit to get it right so that they don't relapse? So counselors are there to not only help in the journey that way, but they supplement the doctor, because, you know, doctors 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe
absolutely
with that person, they can't possibly catch everything that's wrong.
Exactly.
They can't do it. Pharmacists are limited on, they just see a list of what you're taking.
Right.
They don't always see everything.
It really takes a team.
It does.
It takes a team to recover well.
Yes.
And to be well in your recovery.
Right. Let's talk triggers in life.
Sure.
Because, oh my goodness, don't think that only addicts have triggers.
That is not true.
So not true.
Everybody does, yeah.
And when we mature enough that we recognize our own triggers, then we're equipped to somehow handle them.
Right.
So when, and they evolve. Triggers don't stay the same.
Oh no, they change. Yeah, for sure.
I've had people who have told me that fabric softener was a trigger for them.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because
I've never heard that
because they would go into the closet and get high.
Okay, that makes sense. That's
so
perfect.
there you go.
That's perfect.
So
I have some weird ones.
Yeah. In that first year where it was this emotional roller coaster ride, what kind of triggers did you work through?
Spoons.
You have to have spoons.
Yeah, so that was, that's a weird one. Yeah, spoons is one of them that I had to deal with because, well, I think it's obvious.
You got to use them.
So, yeah, I mean, it was one of the things I had to get over, being triggered by spoons. And I also have some PTSD from some things, so arguing is a huge trigger for me. Any kind of argument. I don't have to be involved in the argument. If somebody's arguing in front of me or within my vicinity, that's a big one. And that's something that makes me want to run off and get high. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to be here. So that was a hard one for me.
Right.
And I still smoked at that time. I was a smoker, so I would just go smoke a cigarette. That was how I dealt with it, but not healthy, but that's how I dealt with it. Smells. There are some things that have a certain smell and that is going to be a trigger for years to come.
Oh, yeah.
I promise. That's going to be a one that lasts a long time. Yeah. So, I mean, in the first year, I guess the way I dealt with it, I prayed about things a lot because I didn't really know what else to do. The great thing was I was kind of in this place where I didn't have a car and I didn't know anybody and I didn't know anybody's phone numbers because I didn't have the same phone. So I kind of isolated myself. Like, I was with my family.
Right.
But they were going to know if I suddenly just disappeared.
Absolutely.
So make sure you're accountable to somebody. That's a big thing, is make sure that you're accountable so somebody knows where you are. And I know it's going to suck. It's like, oh, I've got to have a babysitter. Yes, you need to have a babysitter. You really do. Make sure somebody knows where you are, where you're supposed to be, what you're doing. Do that for you because it's so important. I don't think I would have earned my family's trust back as quick as I did if it weren't for the fact that I was accountable to them for every minute of my life.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
Like, they knew exactly what I was going to be doing, when I was going to be doing it, when I got off work, when I went to work. So when I actually did get a car, this is kind of a funny little side story. But when I did get a car and I was working, and I think I'd been clean for about 2 years at this time. 34 years old. 33, 34 years old. My kids were not at home. They were with somebody else, but I was still living with my parents. I didn't go right home from work. I stopped at a flea market to buy books. And I kind of got distracted looking around. I love to shop for books. It's a big thing. So, and I left my phone in the car.
Oh, no.
So,
I think I can see
there are tons of phone calls on my phone.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I get out to the car, where are you? What are you doing? Where are you? Why aren't you home? You know, and here I am thinking, you know, I'm over 30. You don't have my children right now. So I don't have to answer to you. But I kind of do.
Yeah.
Because I live with you.
Right.
And I betrayed your trust in a huge way for like 10 years of my life. So, yeah, you want to know where I am because I'm not home and I should be.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, don't do that to your family.
Live and learn.
Yeah, it was completely innocent. I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I was accountable to somebody and I wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Right.
So.
And seeing the fact that it was out of concern that they were making that phone call and not getting defensive.
Right.
Because we go there. We get defensive. I don't owe you anything. I'm an adult. And then all of a sudden, you've gotten feelings stirred up. And what do you want to do?
Exactly. But I knew I was in the wrong. So at least I knew. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that, I didn't even realize I had left my phone in the car. So I felt terrible.
And it's those chain of events that we inadvertently set ourselves up for.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you don't... I say, like, make sure you have a routine, and keep to it. Because if you don't, that's when you're setting yourself up for stuff like that. And if a messy house triggers you, don't have a messy house.
Right.
And you kind of work around that stuff. You can't let it rule your life, but you got to be prepared for it.
Right. And a trigger that I've heard a lot about is simply boredom.
Oh, that's a big one. Fortunately for me, I love to read, so I don't really suffer from that very often because I just read a book if I'm bored.
Right.
But if you don't like to read,
there you go.
Yeah, do not be bored. Like, do not just sit around doing nothing. That's a terrible thing to do.
Yeah, because we're human, and we're subject to where our thoughts sometimes take us. And when you're bored, your thoughts go to some place you don't want to go.
Exactly, and it's not healthy. Yeah. Boredom is a bad thing in recovery.
Yeah, and I have often sat with clients and made seasonal lists.
Just things to do.
Of things to do during this season to keep from having that relapse. Now, here's the thing. You can make all the lists you want.
You got to stick to them.
Yeah, exactly. You got to put that effort out there to get up and do it. And like you said earlier, you got to do it for yourself.
Well, yeah, sure. You can't do it for anybody else.
And if you're doing it for yourself, you're more likely.
Yep. If you do have kids, though, and you have custody of your kids, that's a good way to not be bored.
Oh, yeah.
Do things with your children.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do all the things with your children that you didn't do in active addiction. So take your kids to the park. Unless you got high at the park, then don't take your kids to the park.
There's always those things,
right?
I
know, but like, take your kids to the park or take them to the playground, or drive a couple of hours away and take them hiking somewhere.
Yep.
You know, if you live here in Hocking County, go to Old Man's Cave.
Oh, yeah.
You know, absolutely. Go canoeing, kayaking. I mean, there's so many things to do here.
There is. It's a wonderful place to live.
Yeah, I mean, you should not be bored in Hocking County.
Oh, right.
You should not be bored here.